In a career spanning over 50 years, Delia Smith has transformed British cookery, writing columns and books and broadcasting culinary science from the ground up in a practical, accessible and straightforward style. She's sold 21 million books, including the one that must be on every kitchen shelf in the land. I consult it so often, it's dog-eared, I have to say. In fact, I might have to get a new copy. Delia Smith's cookery course, that is, which has sold over 6 million copies alone. She even created what was called the Delia effect when shops ran out of recipe items that she recommended. Her latest publication is quite a departure from her previous work, but it's certainly timely. In You Matter, the Human Solution, Delia encourages us to think more deeply about the phenomenon of existence, what it means to be human, and how in unity with one another we can build a future, a better future, in these uncertain times. Delia Smith, welcome to Times Radio.
Hello.
So honoured to have you here in the studio with me. I guess, first of all, quite simply, why did you decide to write this book? I know it had been percolating for a very, very long time, perhaps even back to 5-year-old Delia in bed at night.
Yeah, I think in a way it's sort of similar to the cookery. That sort of bubbled away, and nobody was really helping people to learn the basics of cooking, so I wanted to do that. And I think people are not really being told much about their own depth and spirituality. So here I am jumping in again and trying to sort of communicate belief in human life. I really believe it. I don't even believe it, I know it.
It's a brave departure because what you're asking people is for credibility in an area that they don't associate you with. And you know as well as I
Yeah.
do how difficult people find it to sort of crank up to the thought that you're not in the box that they've put you in. Do you think that in part having the courage to write this book, to put it out there and to talk to people about it comes with maturity, that there is a sense of fearlessness rather than recklessness that comes as you grow older?
You've hit the nail on the head, absolutely. And my beloved agent, Debbie, said to me, when I had my 70th birthday, which was 10 years ago, now you can do what you like, you know. People of your age, you know, you can do whatever you want to do. So there it is, and so this is what I did.
And you feel that? Do you feel that? Do you feel that in all areas of your life?
Yeah, I do. And I feel that it's a wonderful thing. You know, I don't mind getting older because I think I do feel that. I feel that you're past worrying about critics and what people say about you. And I'd already had years of people criticising me on the cooking front. So I thought, well, I'll get criticised, but never mind. It doesn't matter. Because something in me, I don't know what it is, because I'm trying to say there's something in everybody that's unique. And I think what's in me is I just need to communicate. I want to reach people. I don't know why, but it's just there, you know?
So what do you think that we're lacking at the moment? I mean, I know it's a very long list and we haven't got all day, but in a nutshell, as a species,
Yeah.
I think what you suggest is that we've lost sight of some incredibly important virtues that we perhaps don't even recognise as ours anymore.
I think that's right. I think, first of all, I believe that goodness is more powerful than badness. And I think everybody comes into the world good, and the bad people get spoiled by what happens to them. But deep down in everyone, there is a beautiful person. Everyone. Other things get in the way, but it's there. And I think when you say species, I think that's a good term, because if you think of a child, you know, growing up, developing, and then in my day, it used to be when you're 21, you get the keys to the door and then you're adult. Well, I think it's now time for the human species to arrive at adulthood. And I think we need to now think more deeply about the chaos that's in the world and understand that it's in our hands to do something about it.
I think one critic mentioned that you might be naively optimistic, and I suppose this is
Yeah.
quite a time to be bringing out a book that's exploring and proselytizing for the goodness in human
Yes.
beings. Um, how do you equate that with a situation like the one we're currently living through when you look at what's happening in Ukraine?
Well, I understand. I understand the Pollyanna bit. You know, I knew I'd get that. But I also think what we're seeing, as we have seen also with COVID, is what happens when people are united. It's unbelievable. And this week, I've never seen such amazing signs of it. I mean, it's leaders are talking to each other. Everybody's talking to each other. Everybody, business, sport, everybody's saying, come on, guys, we got to help Ukraine. What is that? Now imagine that actually becoming the norm, that the world actually gets together and overcomes the things that are wrong, like climate change. You know, and it's very easy to be a doomsayer, isn't it? And say, oh, you know, climate change is coming, nuclear weapons are coming, da 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 da. But no, leap up. Let's get together. Let's be what we're supposed to be and live the way we're supposed to live is in peace and harmony.
You're an autodidact. You left school at 16, I think,
Yes.
same age as me. And I wondered what impact you think that's had on how you've faced the world and what you've achieved in it.
Yes. I mean, it sort of runs away with you. I didn't realize when I just thought I wanted to help people who didn't know how to cook to learn the basics of cooking. I had no idea there was such a need for it or that it would become such a big thing. But it did become a big thing. And now I've seen something else, some other need. And it's the need, I think, just to sum it up, it's the need to think more deeply, and to do that you have to come away from the noise.
Can you tell me about the earlier need that you identified that in terms of because I wonder how you would describe the British culinary scene when you first stepped into it at the ripe age of 22. This sense that people didn't really know how to cook, and I mean there is an argument though, and there's been lots of people allude to it that people nowadays, in many cases still don't know how to cook, but they know how to sit on the sofa and watch cookery programs. I
Yeah.
wonder if you feel that
I
you've.
do. I feel really disappointed. I feel really, really disappointed. But if we go back to that, when I was 22, what you had was the historical reasons we became an industrial country, people left the land where cooking happens. Then we had 2 world wars, handing down from mother to daughter didn't happen. So we ended up, in the 40s and 50s without any knowledge. And then we had women's weekly magazines doing things with baked beans and cornflakes and stuff like that.
Rice Krispie cakes.
Yeah, that's right. And then we had colour supplements, and we're pressing our noses up against the window and looking at, what cooking could be. And somehow there just needed to be something in between.
And why do you think what you set about to do and carried on doing and did and achieved was so controversial? You've talked about being criticised then and kind of that inuring you to the possibility of criticism about anything as you've moved through your life.
Yes.
Why was it a controversial thing?
A controversial thing.
In terms of your cooking revolution, in terms of what you set out to do. I mean, all I remember ever being really was grateful that your recipes worked, grateful that it gave me ideas to cook something new because I was bored of what I knew how to cook. You sort of, if you're lucky, you start out, don't you? You step into the world as a teenager, with maybe a couple of recipes under your belt. Most children aren't taught to cook.
And why should they know if nobody's teaching them? But I think, remind me of what you just.
Well, no, I'm just wondering why, because you talked about being criticised a lot when you were on
being criticised. Yeah. Well, obviously, when I was young, I got very hurt, and it was difficult. But the results spoke for themselves. And people were so grateful. What I meet in people is gratitude. Thank you that you helped me to do that, because there's no other way to know. There still isn't.
And while there's no food in this book, in a sense, I was struck by the fact that there is a similarity, because it's a recipe for change, isn't it? And for positivity. Did you approach it in the same spirit that you approached changing the nation's cooking habits?
Yeah, I did. I know that everybody can cook if somebody shows them, and I know that everybody has a very deep spiritual side to their lives, and that sometimes that just needs encouragement. It needs to be brought out, and I do, I do think, let's forget everything about paying money and learning how to meditate, because I hate that word meditation, really, because it kind of makes you think, oh, well, I'll never be able to do it. But all I'm saying is, just spend a little time every day in stillness and silence, and just be with yourself. Because if you want to know anybody intimately, you've got to spend time with them. Well, I think we all need to know ourselves intimately, and that means spending time with ourselves, and it costs no money.
You said, in order to know someone well, you have to spend time with them. But I know that you're also quite outspoken, and refreshingly so, about the idea of family ties not necessarily being the ones that we have to venerate,
No.
And so many people, I think, feel a sense of failure if they don't manage to have the perfect familial relationships, whether it's with siblings, with parents,
Yeah.
with their children, whatever. Why are you so brutal about that?
Well, family just doesn't mean friend. Being related to someone doesn't mean they're a friend. I mean, I've got friends who are far more supportive to me than family members. And I also think, when everybody was going on about COVID and not being able to see their relatives at Christmas, I thought they should be saying all the people who were saying thank God.
And how much has that shaped your own life, in a sense, your idea that it's the connections that you make that are more important than the ones you inherit?
I think probably that, yes, there is. There definitely is, because it's like you don't get to know people if you don't spend time with them, and families split up and they go all over the place, and you don't spend time with them.
Did you have issues yourself with your own parents? I know your mum was a formidable force in your life, so
Very much so.
is formidable the operative word there?
It definitely is. Yeah. She was. But she performed something really important for me, and that is, I had a lot of success, and she kept my feet firmly on the ground.
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because my next question was going to be, was she proud of what you managed to achieve?
She was, but only when she was speaking to other people. When she was speaking to me, it was all, oh, you've put on weight.
That's hard, though, as a daughter
Hard,
of a
yes.
mother, isn't it?
It is hard,
It
yeah.
must have taken something out of you as well. Did it have anything to do with your own decision choice not to have children?
No, it's nothing to do with that at all. I just feel that it was good. It was good. I knew the love was there, and I just think it was good that I had somebody, keeping my feet on the ground all the time. So that I never, ever was able to get, big-headed.
Yeah, but you talked a lot about why, it's important for us not to fear failure.
Yes.
And my sense, if you had someone who loomed so large in your life but was so critical
Yeah.
of what you did, that
Yeah.
that would instill in you a terrible fear of failure, because it would make you a bigger target, dare I
Yes,
say.
I think it did. I think it did to a certain amount, definitely. But again, if you, I mean, I'm not saying anything in my book that's new, and I've used a lot of wise writers who've written about it in the past, but it just goes back to Socrates, and all he says is, know yourself.
How did you manage to build up your own defences then? Because I think we've established it was difficult with your mum, with her sense of what was the way to behave towards you. How did you build up your confidence and, mostly your confidence to be able to step first into one incredibly successful career, then, you bought Norwich City. It's an incredible move. I mean, people were sort of like, a woman doing that? It's insane, and now to come out with something that's completely different, that people will take with a pinch of salt, that people will, snigger at as much as they'll praise you for. It takes enormous courage.
Yeah, but then I'm saying that the path I chose, which is one of reflection and understanding the depth. I mean, with my mother being a critic, I also had, incredible support. Like my husband, wouldn't have been able to do anything without him. And then I've had the most wonderful agent, who's still my agent 50 years on.
That's amazing.
50. Who really, really, really did support and help me. So you don't achieve anything alone. But I think, now, if I could say to everybody, quoting one big thinker, one of the things about my age is I can't remember anybody's name. But
I'm joining your club.
One big thinker said, all the troubles in the world, all the troubles in the world come upon us because we refuse to sit still in our rooms for a little time each day.
I think it's a beautiful quote, but I think that for a lot of people right now watching families be bombed and forced out of their homes and watching the terrible, terrible events unfold in Ukraine, that there's also a sort of sense that things like that can be platitudes, can't they? They can sound really spiritual, but ultimately when you're facing the reality, whether it's struggling to feed your children, which we know happens in this country, to trying to escape a war, that those lines don't really help, do they?
Yes, they do, because all that's happening now, go and reflect on it. Go and reflect deeply on it. Look at how things are. I mean, I'm not saying that you go and you spend half an hour having nice thoughts. Not at all. I mean, you'll be distracted. My mind is like a whirlpool. It doesn't get quietened down, but it's just having that space and time to really, really think deeply. I mean, in unity and solidarity with the people in Ukraine.
Tell me, just in the last few questions that I have for you. First of all, I understand, which really shocked me, that your husband does all the cooking in your house?
Well, what happened was when I was writing the book, it took 5 years. And it was very good for me to be able to do a sort of 9 till 5 effort on the book. And then he'd have the supper ready in the evening. And it started like that. And really, I mean, he does love cooking. Since he's been retired, it's like his hobby. So I'm on the good end of that.
Definitely. I'm going to be talking to Marcus Waring on Monday.
Oh.
And I know that I was slightly jealous of the idea of being locked down. His wife and his children locked down with Marcus Waring for the pandemic would have been good news. But I was thinking about cooking, and I was thinking about it as a meditation.
Yes.
A lot of people find the whole process of doing it. You're stepping away from the other things in your life.
Yes.
Has that element of it been taken away from you because of the fact that it became your business?
No, I still absolutely love it. I do think that when you're older, I think standing for a long time gets a bit difficult, and sometimes cooking involves that. So I might get a bit of backache. But I still love it, and I still love good food, and I'm still very greedy, which is what makes a really good cook.
You say in the introduction to You Matter that the genesis of this book really was you as a 5-year-old in your bed. You were made to go to bed too early. You could still hear the other children outside playing.
Yes.
And that was where these thoughts started to whirl around. So is there also a sense coming through these pages that even the things that you think are a punishment in life can be a way of unlocking something else?
Definitely. definitely. And it's just having space just gets you more attuned. It opens up new vistas, new experiences, and most of all, it draws you to other people. So it's not a selfish thing, like I'm spending time on my own, I'm developing. No, the more that happens, the more you're drawn to fellow human beings, and the more you realise we're all connected, we're all one. And I think it's horrendous what's going on now. I do. We're all suffering with them, but that is what it should be. We should all be suffering together and working together to, we don't want any more dictators in the world.
We don't want war. It seems
We
like
don't
a
want war.
prehistoric way of
Exactly.
of tackling problems, doesn't it?
So when I said, we need to mature and grow up, well, it's kid stuff, isn't it? This is my territory. I'm going to protect it is kid stuff. We have to grow up and look at it in reality. There's only one way we're going to save this planet and from climate change, and that is in unity together.
And just finally, Delia, two things. You're 80 years old now, and I really think you have got a portrait in the attic, because I don't think you've aged at all since I last saw you. So first of all, you have to explain that, because it's clearly not the surgeon's knife that you've been employing, but just, I don't know, is it healthy living? What is it? And also, so that's one secret I want from you. And the other secret is you've been married to your husband for 50 years. I think as long as you've been with maybe that's the secret. I was going to say maybe as long as you've been with your agent, you've been with your husband. So maybe everyone needs an agent in order to sustain a long and happy marriage. But what is the secret to that?
Well, I think you're right. You've put your finger on it. You need good friends and you need support. I just feel I've been very, very fortunate.
Well, Delia Smith, we're very fortunate to have you here today to talk to me. Thank you very much for joining me on Times Radio. You Matter is out now, published by Mensch. And if you enjoyed that, we've got a podcast where you can listen to some of our other big interviews, fascinating people reflecting on their lives and careers, as well as the issues of today. It's called Mariella Meets, and it showcases some of our favourite guests, including Marianne Keyes, James McAvoy, and Steve Backshall. And Delia will be joining that merry crew on Friday, because